Hi everyone, welcome to the Lost Generation, outside of the mainstream. My name is William Hooker. I am a musician, poet, and part of this generation of artists. My goal with this podcast, which is being broadcast on its own YouTube channel and my website, williamhooker.com, is to introduce you to many of the musical artists that are outside of the mainstream and have made important artistic contributions to our culture. I have also interviewed producers of the music and many fans and supporters of this work. My guests are sharing what makes this art form unique and significant. I hope these conversations will inspire you to listen to the music, which may change you, and the way you view music, which again is outside of the mainstream. Today we are interviewing dancer and producer Patricia Nicholson Parker. I hope to be airing new interviews on the first of each month. We are presenting these interviews on our own YouTube channel, and we have so many amazing interviews coming up that you will be hearing in the future. This is the Lost Generation, outside of the mainstream. This is a story that needs to be told. See you next month. I want to start by saying this to your face. You are a phenomenal person. Phenomenal in the sense of how long you've been doing this. Phenomenal in the sense of the results that you've gotten. Phenomenal in the sense of how your approach has not kowtowed to the forces that we see every day here in New York City and in the world, and the integrity you brought to the free-form experimental music that I play and other musicians play. Because it has to be approached with a certain integrity.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Patricia, I would not have you here. I just wouldn't. All this other stuff. I mean, we can find that anywhere. We can find that. I want you to give us in a few sentences who you are and what you've done.
It's funny.
Just briefly, because
Yeah, I'm trying.
I hear you.
I'm trying.
I hear you.
I basically what's important to me and has always been important to me. It was even brought up to be that way somewhat, but it's like not just the way it was brought up. What's important to me is dance, art, justice, compassion. Those are really, that's what's important to me. So success is, I like things to succeed because of the importance of the work, not for itself. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't really mean that much unless it's connected to something of substance. And the more integrity I can bring to it, and the more integrity I ask of the people that I surround myself with. I mean, not perfection, because none of us are perfect, but just trying to do great work. Because otherwise, what else are we here for? I mean, we cannot stop the flooding in Houston and in all of South Texas, and we can't stop that. Well, but what can we do? We can't even stop this regime that we're living under.
Beautifully said.
Exactly. But what we can do is bring what is good and wholesome and inspiring and joyful and changing into the world that we interact with. And so I'm just a dancer, improviser doing this. I'm a strategist. I'm always thinking like how to be effective. I'm entrepreneurial.
Sure.
I mean, I'll just do it. If something has to be done, I'll do it, because if it comes to me to do it, then I have to do it. It's like, because I think of everything as our relationship to God and to the people we share this world with. So it's like I have to do what comes to me that is right, that is shining, that's vibrating at a high level. That's what, because that came to me. That's my job. Doesn't make me special. It's my job. Everyone has their job in this world. And that was the one I got.
Now, just for the record, tell these people who you are.
You mean my name? And
Yes.
I'm Patricia Nicholson Parker.
Thank you.
And I'm the founder of Arts, Art, and Vision Festival.
Right. My question to you, take it anywhere you want, because I know I pondered this question. I thought about this question a lot. Would you talk about why it is that the Vision Festival attracts so many listeners when other venues and efforts have not done that?
I don't really, I can give you some answers.
Just
I don't
prove,
have an answer for
Take
this.
it wherever you want.
I mean, when it began, it was again a message I got to do it, sort of, and I knew it couldn't fail, because it was, all the bells were ringing in my head about it. It just felt right. I knew it couldn't lose. It just was going to be. It was like going to happen.
Okay.
So once you start that, then it carries that vibration forward. That's one thing.
Yes.
The other thing is that because I keep on reinventing it, because otherwise I'd have gotten bored. Mm-hmm. I can't repeat exactly, although I've been told that I repeat. It's not really true. But once people get an idea in their mind, it's really hard to dislodge it. Mm-hmm. But because it would have been boring to me. And so it's this constant re-looking at it and trying to make it not more successful, but more truthful, more beautiful. How do I do that? How do I, and if I don't keep it on a certain level, then the artists won't expect themselves to bring a certain level to it. Because there's also that, because people think, well, in order to get the gig, I have to do, and every gig has a certain expectation that artists and, are bringing their understanding of the location being what they should bring to it. Some people, I don't give a shit wherever I go. I do what I do. Right. But a lot of people, there's, even if it's subtle, there's an expectation. What is expected is a certain level of uncompromised. Mm-hmm. That's so. It's without my saying anything, and I get this from. I'm saying this from the feedback I've received.
Yes.
they want to do their most, they're pushing themselves on a certain level. And so I feel good about that. That is a place for that. And, and I guess that's really what I care about, actually, is like having a place to do to be most in touch with your creative self, and where that's celebrated. And then trying to find the right atmosphere. Also, it's like, it's all about, and I can't, because we haven't done enough studies. We've done some,
I hear you, yes.
But, the community gathering element, which is, you could call it networking, but it's really between artists and audience, artists and artists. It's a gathering place. That is important to it. It's also really important to me that it's multi-arts, because I think that keeps opening us up. The more we are opened up, the more we're stretched, the better. Because then when we open up, the spirit comes in.
Right, and that spirit works.
That's what works. That's what I believe. It's a spirit working through us that, like, it's like the Buddhists and the scientists also talk about the whole world is vibrating all the time. I mean, that's scientific, actually. And so when we talk about vibration, we're not talking like hipster talk.
Okay.
I'm talking about how things vibrate, and the energy we give off and how that changes things. So maybe we can't, like I said, we can't do much about the regime, but I think we are doing stuff about it. I think the more consciously and creatively people try to change that vibration and act in their lives as human beings and as artists through their heightened energy that you bring when you play. I mean, it's like I used to say, when I danced, it felt like it was like 1,000 watts, and when I lived, I was like at 45. And it's like, I actually think it's evened out a little bit more.
Well, let me ask you in terms of that. Would you say that just playing the music or just dancing or exhibiting form, energy through form, those acts themselves are revolutionary? And if so, how so? Because by many they don't see that as just revolutionary. They see that as
and no.
You understand? Yeah.
Yes and no.
You understand where I'm coming from with that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think context is super important. When you lock up art in a museum, and that museum becomes it's not the very act that it's a museum, but if the museum, it becomes like a place that is basically establishing a cultural hierarchy, and it's all about placement and class. I mean, like,
excellent, yeah.
Then it loses the vibration of the art, can be really seriously muted or even distorted. And the same thing is true, I mean, where you place it. It depends, and it's also if you title it. And it's so many things. It's the sincerity, if it's a live thing, then the sincerity of the artist and their reason for doing it. Not always, but that helps focus the energy. That makes it strong. If you place it where it's going to have the most effect, not necessarily for your career always, although it's this weird relationship between if you're not recognized and people don't recognize you, I mean, like the people, you know, are very nervous. I think generally. They're very nervous.
Okay.
They want to know that what they're hearing is the right thing. So they look for, like, they used to look to the newspaper to see which one got the stamp of approval.
Okay.
The more stamps of approval it got, then they knew it was good. Now it's what, you know, however the media functions. And so people look for that. So as artists, we also need to look for that, hopefully not just to reassure ourselves, because if you're reassured by a writer, I'm sorry, I really am. But you still nonetheless have to do that.
Patricia, but why? Why are you sorry? Why are you sorry? I'm at the point, Patricia, where I'm almost not sorry. But just go down with the bowl. But I'm saying that I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Do you want me to articulate it?
Please.
Want me to say it out loud?
Yeah. Please.
Well,
Why is that irrelevant?
Because
I mean, relevant and irrelevant.
yeah, it's relevant because it helps communicate what you do to the larger world. It's irrelevant because they're just a person who, with their own insecurities, and they usually have a lot, that they're bringing to this thing, and you're asking this, you know, this person who imagines they have power over your life, and then you give them power over your life by saying, "What do you think?" And it's like, "Oh, they thought I was great," but then that is, even if they love you, that's its own trap, because then in order to be loved every time, you have to do what they're looking for, and as an artist, you're screwed then.
Go ahead. Yeah.
An artist has to be pushing themselves and always looking for their own, how to be more open, more pure, more great, more truth telling in a profound sense.
Yeah. One has to disturb the peace.
That's right.
Has to disturb the peace.
Yeah, I was telling someone, if you're not terrified, then you're not really doing it.
You're not awake.
You're not engaged in your own creation and your own, you're not pushing yourself, because it is scary stuff. It's a little like being comfortable walking off a cliff.
I like that. All right, well, let me ask you this other. What challenges do you think presenters of this music and producers of this music face? And what are some of the ways they can overcome it? Because I'm asking you that question, Patricia, because obviously, and I say again, you're a great producer of this music, a presenter of this music. And I know you've seen that, and I'm asking you because what would you say to those that also are involved in this generation where much of the cultural landscape has been invisible for them for so long, and yet it keeps being presented, and yet it keeps being produced? That's the reason why I'm asking that question.
I mean, how do you work with it? I was having a discussion with someone the other day about my story, and I said the reason I was able to do what I did, and the reason it's not more successful financially, I mean, I don't get big funding, is because I was a worker bee. And that means that what I did was like, and I'm very stubborn also, so I don't give up, I don't back down. So I would just sit down and get it done. To be successful in the world is about hanging out, engaging with people, talking. And I'm actually not, I mean, I'm a performers are not necessarily extroverts. I'm a performer. I'm not an extrovert. As I'm getting older, I can fake it better and better. I can relax into it a little bit more. But I think that the answer to what you're saying is about, I think that for some reason or other, for one reason and another, other organizers maybe hang out with funders better than I did, but they don't hang out with each other. And we look at each other, it's sort of like divide and conquer phenomena.
Yeah.
We're all divided up. And there's all this fear, there's so much fear. We're in a very fear-based time. It's all that's been encouraged in the last 20 years is fear.
Wow. Go.
And that's like bad, it's what's caused the regime that we're in now. And it's also causes all the, straight ahead jazz hates, which means is terrified of free jazz.
True.
But if you talk to any free jazz musician that I know,
Yes.
they like the whole thing. They really do.
Very perceptive. I see. I get
because they understand their relationship to the whole story. Because I don't want to put anyone down.
No, I don't want you. No, obviously, putting somebody down. Nobody's gonna put anybody down.
Yeah, because
nobody's gonna put anybody down. Obviously.
Okay.
Really, seriously. I think you know me to an extent. I'm not even gonna let that
Right.
That's just not even because when you really think about it, the trials and tribulations we've been through since you were a young person and I was a young person up to now. No, well, up to now. I saw your picture when you were a young person with your dad. I saw those pictures, and they were beautiful pictures. And what I'm saying is a lot has happened in that time, and so because of that, we bring a certain maturity and a certain respect of other people that have given their lives to this.
Right, and that deserves respect. And it's like, but what I think is the answer is to find commonality. I think it's the answer for the world, and I think it's the answer for this music. It's the same thing. We have to base what we value on what we actually value, not on the latest, crazy attention-grabbing piece of blankety blank 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 blank, or as
art. I hear you. No, I hear you. Right.
I was sort of thinking Mark Twain there. One-eyed son of a stuffed monkey, those kind of things. That's what it was. Those were the blankety blanks. That's a cleaned up version here.
Well, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Patricia, I'm not going to ask you the other question I've asked many people about individual artists. I know you know so many.
Yeah.
I know you've been around so many.
Don't ask me about it.
Right, exactly. I realize that. It's
my job to love them. It's part of my job. And by love, I mean, my mother said to me,
yes,
you don't have to like everyone, but you have to love them.
She said that?
My mother said that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Isn't that great? You don't have to like them, but you have to love them. So what does love then mean? You respect and you support what is good in them. You don't have to like all the shit they do, but you have to give respect and support what is good.
I like that.
My mom
I like that. Patricia, thank you so much.
One more thing I wanted to say.
Please.
Actually, because it was based on what you were asking them about accessibility of the music.
Okay.
And I've been doing these demonstrations with musicians, and it really clarifies.
What does that entail? What does that entail?
Right. The artist for free world.
Okay.
It's you get all the musicians that can. I was surprised a little bit and was thrilled that William actually wants to do this, William Parker, because William Parker is not this outgoing, political in that kind of way person at all. I mean, all of his work has, a lot of it has text, lyrics, titles that sort of indicate it, but
yes.
He's not the kind of guy who goes to demonstrations or at all.
I hear you.
But he started going, I guess the first one just to be nice to me. I bet, but I'm not sure. But after that, he loved it. And what happens, so people come, and there's some people come often. But what I realized works and how they sort of shape up is that the most important thing is the drums. And then there's these simple melodies, and then there's improvisation. And these are three basic things that work, that communicate to a lot of people. If you have rhythms, everyone likes rhythms. They understand rhythms organically. No one has to explain to just get rhythm.
That's true. That's true.
Right. The same thing is true of a simple melody. And the same thing is true, for the most part,
improvisation.
When you improvise it becomes clear in the demonstration. I think improvisation is more complex than this, but in the in the demonstration aspect, it expresses people's emotion. The melody sort of gives them both grounds it for them.
Sure.
They gives them a way to relate to it. People understand melody, and it can communicate a simple feeling or idea. But to really express how you feel, that when the horns improvise when they take off, everyone's like, yeah. And it's like all of a sudden, I said, free jazz on the streets. A demonstration makes sense to everyone. Everyone gets it. No one doesn't get it in that context. But it needs, I don't know if they would get it without the rhythm underlying it and the melody coming in and out. These are things, and I think it sort of gave me a greater respect for those elements. I mean, I always liked them, actually.
I thought you did.
I really always did, but but simple melody and rhythms, they can shift. But they have to be clear.
Sure.
And people are happy, and it communicates, and it's like, I have to say, it's amazing. The last demonstration I went to, there happened to be all these young women there. It was there was 20 young women near us. Mm-hmm. By the end, they were all dancing.
Well, let me ask you.
Just saying, they were all dancing. All right, it was like,
let me ask you this. In terms of this generation that I'm speaking about, Patricia, right?
Which generation?
I'm talking about the generation between, let's say, 65 to 75-year-old people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I say that because I know in my bookshelf, I know all these books, I know all of these DVDs, I know all this stuff about stuff that preceded us. There's a lot of documentation. More than now. More than what happened throughout the 60s, early 70s, 70s.
Well, they wrote that out of the history book. They made it their business not to include it.
What do you mean by that, Patricia?
Oh.
No, I want you to say it because this is the key.
If you look there's various evidential, whatever. There's various evidence for this.
Please.
There's the most well-known one, which was the documentary on PBS. But then if you go into the colleges.
Jazz, you mean?
Jazz, yes.
I remember.
But if you go into the colleges, I know, I won't mention them because I won't. But but you get penalized for listening. Not only do they not teach, you get penalized for listening to any free jazz. You get in trouble with your professors. It is, and it's really taught to not like it. It's not okay. That's purposeful. And even in schools where you have the elders of this music teaching, I don't know, because I haven't been in the institutions to understand how it functions, but I think it's like they don't feel really encouraged to teach what
investigate.
They did. No, teach what they did, or teach the music that fired them up. They have to place it within the history.
Yeah.
And so by doing so in the way that they end up doing it in order to fit in, they didn't really pass it on. And an example, I think it's like, I just heard about, Harvard did this study of the election, and they explained how that
Tell them which election you're talking about, because I don't know when this is going to be aired.
The Trump election with Hillary.
Yes.
That how clearly Trump got so much more coverage, and in a way that the media, the major media didn't realize they were doing, but it seems, or maybe they did, but what they didn't realize was that they covered in their effort, and this is a little bit interpretation of facts, this was what I heard on the news, in their effort to be unbiased, they tried to be fair to Trump, and which meant they covered his policies. But in being balanced with Hillary, they covered mostly her scandal, the emails. So they didn't cover Hillary's, and if you think about it, if you remember your own experience of listening to the news, they didn't really cover her platform. They covered Trump's platform, the wall, the immigration, all that crap.
Sure.
And in the same, and that was the New York Times and the Washington Post and all those things, because they believed that for sure Hillary was going to win. So they were thinking, well, we have to make sure that we looked like we were being fair. And because they were so sure she was going to win. And all right, that's that story.
But you're saying we've been written out of history books purposefully.
Yeah, and that's because those people are afraid of because the people who wrote the history books don't believe in magic. They don't believe in the art itself, because art is not really, bebop isn't like leagues different from free jazz. It's really, it's all music, and it's all vibrating, and there's a clear connection between Fats Waller and Charlie Parker and you. It's all there, and it's like that same energy that they were playing when they were playing. It's not that different, but the people who want to copy it and who want to copy it and formalize it and therefore then own it somehow, this living kind of like open in playing with the music, within the music, that's like scary to them. You're trying to make it uncontrollable by them. By those who, and not them, I don't mean like an evil plot exactly.
I hear you. No, I hear you.
But it's like fear, and fear is shit. Fear messes us all up.
Patricia.
I have no opinions though, by the way.
Patricia, thank you. Thank you for your opinions. Thank you for your persistence. And thank you for your interpretation of your creative self in terms of what we are doing today and will do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for tuning in. In months ahead, you will have the opportunity to hear from many more Lost Generation artists and supporters. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to hear upcoming episodes.